Okay, sorry we're a couple of minutes late. Would you please rise and join me to the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, agenda review. Anything to add or no? Nothing? Okay, we have two sets of minutes to approve. The September 6th meeting of Academic Affairs.
So moved.
Great. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of Academic Affairs. I think everyone's gotten copies of those, hopefully. Okay, any errors, omissions, corrections? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the September 6th Academic Affairs meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Thank you. And minutes of the September 17th school board meeting.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the school board meeting for September 17th. Any errors, omissions, corrections? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, public input. Anybody like to say anything tonight? Mr. Batson, how are you?
For teamwork well. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak and for your efforts these past few months to reevaluate the need for the YRBS testing in our school district. Everyone recognizes that YRBS testing provides information not only on drug use, but also alcohol, tobacco products, vaping, suicide, sexual behavior, violent behavior, and so much more. Next week, Red Ribbon Week will take place. During Red Ribbon Week, schools across the nation celebrate and promote being drug-free. Last year, Team Wolfeboro provided Red Ribbon promotional materials to 5 area schools. This year, we've ordered materials for 6 Governor Wentworth schools and others working through the peer outreach student group at Kingswood. Our materials were delivered today, and I have a sample packet here to show you. Our actions show that our commitment to work at the local school as well as with the school administration and the school board. Together we can be more effective and more quickly make Wolfeboro and the surrounding towns drug-free communities. Last week, Governor Sununu invited a number of groups to have lunch, and John Beam and I attended that. The governor is announcing his hub and spoke model to provide equal opportunity to serve all the residents of New Hampshire with drug services. $40 million is coming from the federal government. New Hampshire will be a laboratory for what works and what doesn't work. The key will be accountability and measurability. That's why the Youth Risk Behavior Survey is so important. The data is essential to enable organizations in Southern Carroll County, including Governor Wentworth Regional School District, to obtain funding. Team Wolfeboro will gladly work with the school board on future proposals and grant applications. We are committed to a drug-free community. We hope that tonight you will unanimously approve our recommendation to participate in the 2019 YRBS testing. The testing will provide the baseline for future programs and funding. Thank you. And I'll give you the stamp. That's the materials that we gave to school.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Dene,
Thank you.
welcome again.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope we're having a cold night. This past month has been a full one at the Kingswood Complex. We just finished Spear Week with our annual homecoming dance on Saturday night. Activities during the week included dress-up days, hallway decorating, and a skit competition during a school-wide pep rally on Friday. The seniors won the week-long competition, but all of the classes demonstrated awesome school pride and participation. Many of the sports teams played homecoming games, and the football team had their first win of the season on Friday night. On Sunday, there was a celebration for the life of Ramsey Taylor that was held at the Kingswood Arts Center. This coming Wednesday night, there is a band concert to raise money for Knights Against Hunger. Also on Wednesday, the Kingswood field hockey team will be hosting a home playoff game against John Stark Regional High School. This past week was also the first annual Dig Pink Week. The week is dedicated to activities and games to raise money for breast cancer awareness. The week is sponsored in partnership with Wentworth Douglas Hospital. The week started with the first annual Dig Pink Bowl, with the senior girls taking on the junior girls in a football matchup. In addition to hosting a food drive at the September 26th home football game, the Salt team went to Hannaford's with a $250 gift card from WMUR, and the Salt team purchased 602 pounds of food. The food was donated to local food pantries and NH Tackles Hunger. Winter registration is now open for athletics, and there are currently 140 students registered. With school back in session, the LRTC programs are in full swing. Career technical student organizations have been meeting to elect the 2018-19 state of officers, with the induction ceremony and breakfast scheduled for November 2nd. The Interact Club helped with the Rotary auction held on September 29th here at our WCTV studio. Mr. Montrash reports that over $8,000 was raised for the Rotary related activities, including their annual local scholarships. Ms. Kravitzy's classes have enrolled and started their Running Start courses through Lakes Region Community College, with the help of an initiative supported by Governor Sununu. The STEM courses offered through participating high school and CTE programs are tuition-free for students taking a Running Start course through LRCC and other community colleges. Mr. Montross reports that DECA students will be participating in a business simulation on October 24th that may lead to an international competition being held in Orlando, Florida in May of 2019. Mr. Gagne's FFA students were the stars of the Sandwich Fair last Sunday morning, competing among themselves in categories such as chainsaw sharpening, chain and cross-cut saw use, and timed log roll and splitting. Many of the alumni came into work as judges for the competition and challenged the current students in each event. Hundreds of pictures taken throughout the competition are currently on display at the LRTC lobby. Mr. Gagne's ag classes also attended and showed off their skills at Deerfield Fair and recently attended workshops at UNH. On October 18th, Chef Brito and his culinary arts program will be opening the Skylight Dining Room to the public. Many folks have already inquired as to when they can expect to come in and enjoy such a great lunch. And that's just some of the highlights from Kingswood this past month.
Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate it. Great report. Great
Thank
report. Thank you. Okay, Superintendent.
Right, well, it's my pleasure to be here at Effingham School tonight. This is a great time of year to come to Effingham because the drive is just so beautiful. We always get a great turnout of Effingham staff, and tonight is no exception. It's really great to see you all here. It's a small school, so many of the staff come for this evening, and it's just great to see you all. So Patty, I know you have a welcome planned, and I'm looking forward to what's up.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming out. I'm glad you enjoyed your drive. So there are many, many things that I could share with you about Effingham, things that we are proud of, things that we are excited about, things that we want to celebrate. But one of them that I'd like to share with you tonight is responsive classroom. So a responsive classroom is an approach to teaching, learning, being with children that involves engaging academics, effective management, positive community, and a developmentally appropriate approach to students. One piece of responsive classroom is a morning meeting. And today we have some expert kindergartners who would like to share a morning meeting with you. So if I could invite you, the school board, to join the morning meeting at the circle, we'll continue over there. So this is a morning meeting. So before I hand it over to Mrs. Dearborn, she's our kindergarten teacher here at Effingham. She's got 3 of her students here today, and this is typically how a morning meeting starts. So Effingham School hosts an all-school morning meeting, so all of us in the gym in a circle on the floor every Monday morning, and then each classroom hosts a morning meeting similar to this in fashion in their classrooms every morning. And so, Noelle.
All right, hi, I'm Noelle Dearborn, and I appreciate my 3 students that came in. It is late for them, for kindergartners. I do have 15 students. These are not my only 3 students. So the parts of a morning meeting, there's 4 parts, and they don't always go in the exact order. Like tonight, we're not doing them the exact order, but we're going to do all 4 parts. So the first part is a greeting, and we are trying to learn each other's names at the beginning of the year in kindergarten. So they are brave and they think they can do knock knock, so we're going to play a game called knock knock to learn each other's names. And you just turn to the person next to you, Johnny. You're going to do it with me first.
Knock, knock.
And I'm going to do it to you first, okay? Just to show them. All right, knock knock.
Who's there?
Mrs.
Mrs. Who?
Mrs. Dearborn.
Hi, Mrs. Dearborn.
And then everybody says hi to the person. Okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Johnny.
Johnny who?
Johnny Wright.
Hi, Johnny. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Nanette. Nanette Wright.
Hi, Nanette.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Is it
Who's there?
Farley?
Hi,
Isaiah.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Sam.
Sam.
Sam today.
Hi,
Sam.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Mrs. Murphy.
It's tricky.
Okay. Oops. Now. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Kathy. Cuddy Egbert.
Knock knock. Who's there? Ernie. Ernie who? Ernie Brown.
Hi, Ernie Brown.
Knock knock. Who's there? I don't know. Tim. Congratulations. Tim who? Tim Eldridge. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Jim.
Jim who?
Manning.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Bridget. Bridget who? Bridget Edwards.
Hi, Bridget.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Kathy.
Kathy who?
Kathy Frothingham.
Hi. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Kathy.
Kathy who?
Kathy Obelinas.
Hi, Kathy.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Julianne.
Julian Hill.
Julianne Cardinal.
Hi, Julianne.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Trinity.
Trinity.
Trinity Jade Waller.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Jack.
Jack who?
Jack Whitmer.
Hi, Jack.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Heather. Stacy Trice.
Hi, Stacy.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Heather. Heather Cummings.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Renee.
Renee who?
Renee LeGrand.
Hi, Renee. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Patty.
Patty who?
Patty Morrissey.
Hi, Patty. All right, so that would be a quick reading. The next part we're going to do is a group activity, and the kids get to choose a topic. It's called The Warm Wind Blows, and I'm going to take a chair out, and I will say something like, the warm wind blows if you have a boat. So everybody who has a boat would get up and switch chairs with somebody else, and you can't sit in the chair next to you, all right? But I'm not going to do boat. I'm going to start with something else. All right. And the last person left without a chair is the next person who makes up a topic. All right? The warm wind blows if your favorite holiday is Christmas. Right over here.
Oh, she can't sit in the same, is that your same chair?
Yeah, Serenity's the one in the left. No, oh, you're going to be in the middle? I guess. Okay. Yeah. A warm wind blows. Okay, a warm wind blows. Let's see. I we're ready for Thanksgiving.
Ready for Thanksgiving. I'm ready to eat.
Plans made. Okay, so that means. Oh, you gotta let her sit down this. Oh, you have to go say it
All
this
right,
time.
you're
There
it.
we go.
A warm wind blows if you like Halloween. But that's scary.
That's a good one.
A warm wind blows if you have a dog.
Okay, Johnny, this is gonna be our last time we play, so
A
make it a good one.
A warm wind blows if you ever went to a monster truck rally.
How did he know? How did he know? You can pull a
There you go. Good job. So that's kind of a fun game where we're also sharing who's been to a monster truck rally. I never would have known that about it. The next part, I'm kind of combining the morning message with a sharing. Apples. We went to apple picking this year. So there would be a message here that I would read to the students. Good evening, school board. Welcome to EES. Kindergarten is excited to share our morning meeting with you. Love, Mrs. Dearborn. And we would use this to find letters and to find sight words, and I won't do that with you. I know y'all will be great. And then we're going to do an activity where you're going to taste a Honeycrisp apple and a Granny Smith apple, and then you're going to get a sticker to put up on a 10 frame and tell us which is your favorite to eat. And even if you like them both, you have to pick just one. And then we'll count and see which is the most popular. All right? So, you want to help with Mrs.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you want to go that way?
What are these?
These are Honeycrisp first.
Honeycrisp.
All right. You have to take the one you touch. Guys are really well.
Thank you.
Come on, Apple.
You are welcome. That's okay.
Are you Honeycrisp too?
Yeah. All right. And the next one is Granny Smith. So how would you describe that apple? What kind of adjectives could we use? Tart. Tart, tangy. What do you think?
Juicy.
Juicy. And we'd get our vocabulary in that way also. All right, so you ready? Yeah, you're still chewing.
Take a sticker too.
There you go.
Oh, no.
Go. Do you guys want to run your school board meetings like this with a few more fun? You're welcome.
That's a way we can do our votes with stickers.
Yeah, I know. All right. And then we're going to give you an apple sticker, and you need to come up when you have your sticker and put it on which one you prefer. So prefer just means which one you like better.
Sam, a vote? Do you need a vote?
There you go.
Thank you. This is all familiar to you. I think it's either not that or it's right up here. Comfort level.
Looking like which one is going to win. We'll see.
Sorry. No, that's great.
All right. So, do I have a kindergarten volunteer to count the Honeycrisp?
Yep.
Do you want to count them, Johnny? Okay, you can count these.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1.
11. 11. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Wait, we're going to give somebody else a chance to do that. So tell them there were 11.
11.
11 Honeycrisps. Okay, Isaiah, you want to do these ones? And Granny Smith? How many just looking at it? 7. Say there were 7.
There were 7.
All right, so which was more Serenity?
The 11.
Honeycrisp or the Granny?
Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp had more. And which had less Isaiah?
Granny Smith.
And then we would talk about math that way. And that concludes our morning meeting. Thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions or? Yeah, Johnny.
Did the,
Absolutely. Will you tell me tomorrow?
okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And my kindergartners, you're welcome to come have a snack and go to bed.
So thank you. I hope you had fun. I hope you get to narrow down your Apple preferences. I didn't know we had monster truck lovers amongst us, and it's really a great way to pull out academics, to really pull in community building, and to be with kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, when we have activities with students never ever disappoint. That was great. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is enrollment, and I am pleased to report that our enrollment is up this year. And let's see, we have this year a total of 31 additional students. We have been trending up since 13-14. It's been up and down with a slight trend toward up. Our kindergarten class this year has quite, let's see, sorry. Our kindergarten class has 32 more students this year, so that's a nice bump in terms of the number of students, and of course we're optimistic that we're going to see that growth continue. So at this point, it's a slight trend up with some ups and downs.
What was the total amount
The
of
total
school enrollment?
total number as far as enrollment goes. Okay, so if you look at just the schools, it's 2,340. Then you add Lakeside Academy, 22 at Lakeside Academy, and then you add 64 from Lakes Region Technology Center, and that brings us up to 2,426, which is a better number than, like I said, we're trending in the right direction. Okay.
Kathy, do you have numbers for the middle school and high school students from Middleton, or those numbers?
I didn't break those numbers out, but we're usually around 120. So positive news overall there. Field trips. We only have one field trip for me to just inform you of, and that's Salem, Mass. Our middle school typically goes to Salem at this time of year because they're working on Puritans and colonial New England, and there was no more fun place to do that than Salem, Mass. At this time of year. So they'll be going on October 24th. And then next item of business is the state and local youth risk behavior survey. I know you all wanted to take a look at it and have a chance to digest all the questions before you have a discussion about whether or not the survey will be instituted at the high school.
So, anybody have any comments on the survey as it's currently presented?
Oh, let me go.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ernie. I know you wanted to say something.
As I understand it, this tasking is coming from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. they have tasked the New Hampshire DOE to conduct this survey.
But here, maybe you can. Thank you. Yeah.
This report data is for state requirements for reporting to the federal agency grantors. Grantors as in possible money grants. The cover sheet for this survey states that it is a voluntary in-class survey. No mention of any parental screening. Although many questions are school-related, some of them are of dubious value. My objections to this being conducted in class. First, these are very sensitive questions to be answered in class. Security of information to me is an issue. This is just another wasted opportunity taking away from regular class time. And I get very sticky about that. I don't want to short the teachers, their teaching time. So this is just something else that dilutes our teaching. There is no direct manner of these questions being given to parents. How can you opt out if you do not know what is in the survey? The survey asks many questions unrelated to school. Statistical validity of some questions. In the last 12 months, how many times did you go out on a date? I'm not going to go into the details of the questions, but I'm not sure they're appropriate for a classroom. There are alternatives. You could mail a survey to the parents and students. This is much more secure than in a classroom. They should improve the quality of the data, and they will get back our class time, give back our class time to the students. In other words, you can get the information you want. You just have to take a different approach to get it to the parents and the students. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? I think we've kind of shared our opinion on some of the questions that, are, again, they're not necessarily appropriate or meaningful. But again, it's quite clear that the students don't have to answer if they don't want answers either. So, that is another issue. I kind of agree with Ernie as far as the using classroom time to do it. It would be nice if we could have posted this up on the website and that parents have access to it and all that, but apparently we're not allowed to do that, which is unfortunate because what are we trying to hide? I think that's the issue here. If this is such an important survey to have done, why aren't parents involved with it? I mean, why can't they see what their students are being asked to do? We're all about transparency and sharing with the parents what happens in the classroom and all that. And I don't really understand why this is such a secretive thing that we can't share with parents. That's a concern for me. But
Well, I guess I just asked for clarification. So it's an opt-out, so if you're under a certain age, is that right? Parents have a right to opt their student out?
if the parents don't know what's involved in the survey, that's
Right, so
issue.
so if a parent wanted to see it, we can't share the contents with them?
They
or
would have to come into the school to.
But you're not allowed to, so we couldn't put out an email to parents with the contents of the survey in an email, and they could see the contents there?
As I understand, we're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Right now, we're not allowed to do that according to what we understand. And I don't understand why.
In most surveys we give out, are we allowed to share the contents of the survey ahead of time? Is it that just unique to this particular survey?
Yes.
Now, is there a,
Bob, you have a.
I think in the supporting information we gave you, that 70 out of 81 high schools in New Hampshire participate in the YRBS survey. But also Raymond High School, through the year, and this test has been conducted by the CDC since 1992, I believe, 93. Raymond, the response was that only one parent has ever opted out during the time period that they've been doing the test in Raymond. So it's not as big a concern as you may think it might be. In fact, it's more valuable to have the data than not to have the data.
That's what I was going to mention. As a matter of fact, it's up on the CDC right now. Anybody can see it, unless there's an intent to actually change the questions. And then I don't know how you're going to deal with that. But if you're going to deal with the CDC, it's up there. And Team Wolfeboro will be happy to distribute it in any way that you could be helpful to you without you guys being in.
You know, and it's kind of interesting because I think that's kind of contrary to the process. You know, we're willing to send it out or make it available on our website. But we can't do that. But we can provide the website that it's available on, and they can go and do it. None of this makes a lot of sense to me.
I talked also with New Hampshire, and there's two tests that are on the website for CDC. One is called a state test, and one is called a national test. One's for private schools, one for public schools. And the New Hampshire said they modify some of the questions slightly. So, you know, which question might be modified or just eliminated, we don't know. But New Hampshire does that. So it's may not be the exact test that the students get.
Do we have any idea of when the state may actually modify the test and have it available?
I would say probably 99% of the test is already there with the testing. It's just a minor word change. And they need a commitment really in October to order all the testing material. That's why we started in August. And the tests are conducted in the spring.
Julie?
So if we were to do this survey and we get the results, what do you hope to gain from those results? How do you think it's going to affect our district and our students?
It's really to see trends that are happening and to see how issues are being addressed. If you go back to the 2011 data, which was also included in that 150 pages that we provided you, you know, it shows we're definitely going in the wrong direction, you know, with a lot of things, especially with the use of marijuana. And so we want to measure the change, how effective prevention programs are, what can we do, the next thing that's going to be hitting us, which, you know, might be vaping. I don't know. But the police departments use this data in order to do their planning and what they want to achieve. And they also use it in all grant applications. It's critical data. And that's why 70 out of the 81 high schools in New Hampshire take the data, you know.
What's the average length of time does it take to do the test?
I think it's one period. You know, I think the test that they have is like 45 questions. So it's not significant.
The students could probably take this test during the task period, which they have. And also, I think the test would be beneficial for the students for self-reflection, because if you're reading these questions and you're trying to answer honest with yourself and you don't like the answer that you're writing on the piece of paper, maybe you can make some changes. And then programs can be implemented to help you, to help the students.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm sorry.
I see all sides and all points, but if we don't know the information, the data, we don't know what needs to be addressed, we don't take the survey, we can't fix anything that might be an issue.
Yeah, I think the YRBS results question is answered in the FAQs, and it points out here that the CDC uses the data to assess the trends in priority health behaviors among high school students, monitor progress towards achieving national health objectives, and evaluate the contribution of broad prevention efforts in schools and other settings towards helping the nation reduce health risk behaviors. The data isn't going to be secret. The actual answers of the student will be secret, but the actual we'll actually see trends. And when we all together start pushing and making a change, we'll actually see the results there.
This is just part of data, driving data to see changes.
Okay, I think we probably had enough discussion on this.
I'll make the motion that we move forward with the survey that's presented.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to allow the youth risk behavior survey to be implemented. Any other questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Great. Next item is budget timeline. In your packets, you have the timeline. We have started our meetings with the administrative team, Kathy and I. So we met today with high school, middle school, Durham Elementary, and Carpenter School. And then tomorrow we have 4 more, and then on Thursday, two remaining. And then our finance committee meeting will be on November 13th, and that's at 6 p.m. Wednesday, November 14th at 6 p.m., and Thursday, November 15th at 6 p.m. Then, on Monday, December 3rd, that will be at our school board meeting, we'll have the preliminary adoption, and that's at Tuftonboro Central School. On Monday, January 7th, 2019, the school board meeting will have the final adoption budget hearing. And other important dates, we have, right now we have 3 collective bargaining agreements that we're working on, and the last date for collective bargaining is January 8th. Let's see. And our deliberative session is February 2nd at 10 a.m., and voting is Tuesday, March 12th.
Thank you. Jim?
This looks good. I'm just wondering, as far as the meeting location for the 13th, 14th, and 15th, if some of the towns show up.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering about spacing.
We're looking at Crescent Lake.
Okay. So that may change sooner than later.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll send an invite, to each one of the towns to make sure they're aware of when the budget hearing will be held. We'll probably set it up at Crescent Lake School, so we do have plenty of room to deal with that. Okay. And just so you know, on the first meeting on Tuesday, the 13th, is generally the overview of the special education program for the year and requests that come from special ed. The following night, Wednesday, would be the elementary school principals, and the Thursday night would be the middle school, high school, and the Computer Technology Center principals that would be their presentations for us. Okay. Thank you.
Next item is the School Safety and Preparedness Task Force. Can you all hear me, or should I be, you can hear me fine? Okay, great. Usually people can't.
If you leave it there, it'll pick you up anyway.
Thank you. Okay. So the New Hampshire School Safety Task Force report is out, and I was really pleased to take a look at it and to see the recommendations, because they very much mirror what we've been doing in the school district. We've had a real intense focus on school safety, as you might imagine. The school board, you all know this, because that's the first thing that we need to do with our students to keep them safe, and of course our staff as well. So the report really looks at 3 different areas, and they're all 3 areas that we have looked at as a school board, as an administrative team. The first focus I was pleased to see was on mental health and school culture. And as some of you may know, we've been working hard in every school in the area of mental health supports for kids. The responsive classroom that Noelle presented to us today is an example of that. We start right out in kindergarten with social and emotional supports for kids and helping them develop social skills, helping them use their words to express themselves. There's just a whole lot that goes into each program we have in the schools. Lots of training on trauma and how trauma affects children and how to help children who have actually been a recipient of some trauma. So we're doing a lot in the area. It's still not enough. It's never enough. So we'll be continuing along those lines, continuing to get training and continuing on with implementation in that area. Right now we're working at the high school on a poster program that will really activate some of our student athletes to be supports for those students at the high school that might be struggling with something related to mental health or depression, those kinds of things. And that program originated from Justice Broderick's work. I think you've probably heard about his presentations around the state. We had him here early on, first with some administrators and then with students. So again, I was pleased to see that there is a focus on that because to me that's really the basis of doing the preventive work. The second area was training and protocols, and that involves our emergency operation plans, making sure that everyone knows the incident command sequence, particularly administrators, and some of the infrastructure things that we have talked about. We've certainly done a lot of work on our infrastructure, and those are the kinds of things that we don't talk about publicly, but there's lots of work going on there to make sure that our buildings are secure and safe, and we limit any circumstances that could harm our children. And so those are the three areas. They pretty much mirror what's in the report. There are a few things in the report that we're going to make a part of what we're doing as an administrative team. So it was good to see that we're on the right track, doing a lot of the things, but really, 90% of the things that are in here and working on the other 10%. So next item, it's October. It's starting to get cold, so it's time to talk about winter weather. And the number one thing when I go into classrooms, and especially elementary schools, and teachers introduce me, and I ask the students, geez, what do you think a superintendent of schools does? And they all say, you let us know if there's going to be school or not when it's snowing. And that really is, again, that's a safety issue, so it really is an important job. But I do want to read a letter to parents just as a reminder of how that decision gets made, and the fact that no matter how many sources I have, road agents, transportation, weather services, we have our own precision weather service, I can't possibly know the conditions outside of your driveway, so it's always up to parents to make that decision. But I just want to go through the letter so that so everyone can hear this, and it will be posted on the website. Before the winter weather is upon us, I want to remind you of the procedures we use to make the decision to either hold or cancel school. Please remember the final decision as to whether or not children come to school is up to parents. We monitor weather forecasts daily. The decision for making a delay, snow day, or blizzard bag day begins around 4 a.m. When a weather event is anticipated, our transportation supervisor is monitoring both the Maine and New Hampshire weather forecasts, again beginning at 4 a.m. The transportation supervisor is in touch with the road agents in all of our communities for road conditions, as well as plans for plowing, salting, and sanding. The Stratford and Carroll County Dispatch are also called to provide information on road conditions based on the police calls, accidents, etc. Communication with the bus drivers for conditions in their area is also ongoing. Additionally, we have a service called Precision Weather, which targets weather and road conditions in our specific area. And I'll tell you that it's not uncommon for MUR to reporting road conditions that may be true for much of the state, but not targeted or accurate for our specific region. The decision to hold school is based on all of this information. School is held only in the event that the assessment indicates that buses can safely pass over the roadways. Safety is the #1 priority in making the decision. If the roads are not expected to be in good condition, in other words, the buses can't pass safely by the time the bus routes normally begin, but they are expected to improve to an acceptable standard within 2 hours, then the policy is to delay school for 2 hours. If it is determined that the road conditions will not be safe by 7:15 a.m., then school will be canceled. And past winter was such a crazy winter. I know many of you experienced first a delay and then a closing because the conditions didn't improve in a couple of circumstances. Every effort is made to get a message to you between 5:15 and 5:35 a.m. I usually shoot for 5:25 because I know it's really early for some people, but you can't do it too late because then other people are out on the road given the size of our district. And through your chosen option of voicemail or email, and we're also doing text messaging now as well. These messages are for your convenience. However, even with the most reliable system, we are still dependent on satellite technology, electricity, and the internet to get a message to you. There's always the possibility that any one or all of these could have problems. If you do not receive a message, please check Channel 9 WMUR, which lists the information about school closings. WOKQ now also lists the closings on their website. Several radio stations still broadcast the names of schools that are closed. We are geographically a large district, actually the largest in the state. This is important for you to know because it's impossible for us to know the conditions on every single road. We are not a city district in a compact area. That is why we must ask parents to use their discretion. If in a parent's estimation, the roads from their location are not safe, then they should keep their children home from school. Students will be allowed to make up any work that has been missed. Thank you.
Good letter.
And really, that's all I have tonight other than School Boards Association, but I did want to share that we have some sort of letters, you could call them letters, from Tuftonboro Central School from Camp Invention, and they're thank you notes for the school board supporting Camp Invention, and they're just so cute. So if you don't mind, I'll read a couple and then. Dear GWRSD School Board, thank you for donating to Camp Invention. I learned about robots, and I get to bring one home today. My favorite part was the robot pup. They had a little robot. So, love, Elizabeth, TCS. And for the camera, she's a great artist. Dear GWRSD School Board, thank you for donating to Camp Invention. I learned that some sensors are sensitive to color. My favorite part was the Octobots because we got to create tracks for it. Sincerely, Seth. Just do one more. This is someone who loves numbers. Okay. Dear GWRSD School Board, thank you for donating to Camp Invention. I learned about robots. My favorite part was making my mansion. Love, Finn, TCS. So they're really great. Look at them. It's just great to see the kids being so appreciative. And some of the things that they mentioned that they got out of the experience are really great too. So, here you go.
Okay, New Hampshire School Board Association, our next meeting isn't until November, so I don't have a lot to report on that. We do have a meeting of NHIAA, which I'm also the rep on now, which is fun. And I'm both on the rep for both their finance committee and a regular board member. So next Friday is the finance meeting, and then the following week is the regular board meeting. So, but it's interesting to sit through the NHIAA meetings to understand what really goes into the whole sports programs in the state of New Hampshire. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's not just going to a game. There's so much stuff that happens behind the scenes with rules and regulations and officials and all this stuff that people just aren't aware of. And it's interesting to sit on that board and really understand the process to make sure that everything that happens in the sports programs throughout the state are done in a particular order and a particular fashion to make sure the kids are safe and everything goes according to plan. So kind of glad to be on that committee. A little more time consuming, but that's okay. All right. Okay, correspondence. This week we sent expressions of sympathy to Andy Dano on the passing of his sister, to Tammy Drew on the passing of her stepson, to Kathleen Gilbert on the passing of her mother-in-law, and to Stacy on the passing of her dad. Sorry. Get well wishes were sent to John Eldridge, Bonnie White, Lisa Simons, and Peter P1. If you don't know, Peter broke his hip. Wishing him well. I did talk to his son-in-law yesterday, and he's doing reasonably well. And congratulations wishes to Danielle Rogers on the birth of her daughter. And we'll go to committee reports, academic affairs. Wendy? No, Wendy?
Wendy's not here. I mean, I
Well,
can step in.
good one.
We have policy EHR data records retention is here for a second reading and approval. There had been some changes to how long we had to keep special education records. It had been seemingly forever, and they reduced that time for practicality reasons of practicality. So that's before us tonight for approval.
Okay, any information on EH-R to discuss? Okay, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the changes to EH-R, data records retention. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Chair votes aye. Thank you. Ernie, building and maintenance.
We had a good meeting this evening. Matter of fact, we were almost late for this meeting. It took a while. One of the things the committee is looking into is establishing a solar field to help offset some of our electrical costs. Because of concern with putting them on roofs and poking holes in our roofs, we're only looking at available space within the elementary schools. And the only elementary school that has any excess space is Effingham. And we have been led to believe that it is possible to put in a solar field large enough that we could offset the total electrical cost for both Effingham and the Ossipee School. So the committee is looking into and doing research on the validity of those statements and making sure we can put together a proper package. If we think it's appropriate, after we visited some sites that already have these solar fields, we will come forward to the full board for approval to go forward with a RFQ, or request for qualifications, to be sure that the people that want to bid on this project have the financial wherewithal to support a project of that scale. Once we find out who's qualified, we'll invite them in with a request for proposal of what they would propose to do and how they would propose to do it. And we would be looking at doing this through the contractual basis of, let me find my note here so I use the right word. A power purchase agreement, which allows you to realize the benefits of solar with no upfront cost. So I don't have to come to the voters for any money, potentially, for a project like this. And depending on how the numbers work out, then we would then invite these companies in, listen to their proposals. That would be done in public, so everybody knows what we're doing. and then based on how it works out, the board will make a decision on whether they want to proceed or not. That was the first part of the meeting. Very briefly, the state of New Hampshire passed a Senate Bill 247. And I just say it's an unfunded liability in that we anticipate it's going to cost the school district in the area of $31,000 to comply with it this year. And it involves testing the water in all the schools and all the outlets. And it's based on Senate Bill 247, which is passed. Kathy talked about the school safety preparedness. Due to some federal monies, we are tying some public school infrastructure funds into complying with some of the issues that were identified, and we're moving forward on those issues. Typically, the Building and Maintenance Committee comes forward with a warrant article on the warrant in March asking for $150,000 for improvements in the school district. However, we have enough items that we want to do further research. I would anticipate this decision will be made within the next 2 months to get it into our March presentation.
Warrant article for it.
But typically we ask for $150,000. When there were periods where we were way behind, we asked for $200,000, then we cut it down to $150,000. We've got to look at data we received this evening to determine whether we'll come forward with either the $150,000 or the $200,000. But we're going to look at the projected costs and also the total budget to see what we would recommend to the board. And last, the committee, SAU received a letter from the Effingham CIP committee, and basically they're looking for us to provide them some statistical data on the Effingham school, and the SAU is going to provide this data to the selectmen in Effingham. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ernie. Okay, under finance, you heard about the finance meetings that have happened so far with the superintendent and the business administrator and the administrators, and our schedule for our actual finance committee meetings in November on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And again, time, location to be determined based on the response we get from the selectmen in town and other residents that want to show up. And that's all I have for finance. And under human resources, we are continuing to work forward on our 3 bargaining units that we're negotiating new contracts with this year. And that's all I have. Julianne, anything public relations? Okay, advanced planning, you can see down below. A lot of stuff happening. The music program that was mentioned on Wednesday night. Our next board meeting is in New Durham on the 5th of November. There's no school on the 6th, which is the general election. Again, as you know, we close our schools for Election Day. And no school on the 12th for Veterans Day being observed. And then again, the Finance Committee meetings on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And no school on the 19th and 20th for in-service and teachers' conferences, and then Thanksgiving recess. So we're already into the holiday season. Half day on the 19th, yes. Public input. Nobody wants anything to say? Okay, that's good.
At this point in time, we'll just say thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look down at my board members. Let's hear Bridget.
Hi, thank you for having us. This little school has a special place in my heart. All 3 of the kids, my children graduated 6th grade. And Sam, all those abbreviations, in your report. I don't know how you got all those letters and the responsive classroom. I think that's great. I remember hearing about just the entire morning meetings with the whole school. Everyone always had their birthday sung to them. Happy birthday. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I love coming to Effingham. It's such a cute little school. And I loved seeing the kids, the kindergartners, and their questions were awesome. They did a great job, and they're so confident from kindergarten, and I think that responsive classroom helps build that confidence in students and the community.
Yeah, and I'll just tag on to that. It's more than just a morning greeting. I mean, I watched the math being woven in there, and even Noelle was talking about, I forget what the word was, but she was doing kind of using bigger words than kindergartners might be used to, but explaining it. So it's a great use of time, and then to reinforce those social skills as well. And I just want to thank everyone for their expressions of condolence. Thank you. Appreciate it a lot.
Patty, thank you for having us. Who'd have thought Monster Truck was such a big thing?
What else can I say? Thank you, Patty. It's the best part of the school board meeting is the kids. We have so much fun. Tonight was fun too.
Tim?
Well, thank you. It was great seeing the Effingham staff. I was actually mentioning either Jack or Ernie, I feel a bit disconnected now that I have no kids here. It's kind of sad, but that's all right. I know the door is always open. So the morning meeting or evening meeting was great. I was thinking maybe middle school, maybe give it a whirl. And just kind of put it out there, School Bus Safety Week is coming up the week of the 22nd through the 26th. I know the state is going to be doing some press conferences and putting it on the message boards and that sort of stuff. But the whole thing is safety on and around the school buses. So just be aware they're out there. So that's it.
Thank you. Ernie?
I'm glad I'm not the superintendent that has to second guess the weather between New Durham and West Ossipan. She does a very good job of that, and she loses a lot of sleep because she has to get up at about 4 in the morning to take care of it. And so I very much appreciate what she does there. Sam, you gave us a lot of data there. I appreciate it very much. Between you and the Granite State News, with their great coverage on the Lakes Region Technology Center last week, it helps a lot to find out what's going on, because as a board member, there's so many things going on. It's almost impossible to keep up with everything. The issue of the survey, I know we have problems with drugs in New Hampshire. I know that the data is needed. My concern is to protect classroom time and also the statistical validity of this being completed in a classroom environment. I wasn't sure how accurate the data is going to be that you get. And that was my concern. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morrissey.
Great job, Sam. Thank you. Anything, Kathy?
I can't believe those kindergartners. If I were a kindergartner, would I have been able to do what they did in front of all these adults? So kudos.
Yeah.
That was great. I would have been mortified. I'll just put it right out there.
Thank you all for being here tonight. It's always nice to see so many familiar faces when we meet, and that was just the highlight, as you've all said. This is why we do what we do, and I just want to show up tomorrow morning for another morning meeting.
Sam, I wanted to compliment you once again on your report. A couple of things in your report really struck me. So many community service activities all across the district, and I just think that that's something of real value that our students are being taught, which is just great. The other thing that you mentioned was the Running Start program, and I know we have several students now, and they're going to be able to obtain college credit at a very reduced price, and that's in part from the policy that board members worked on this summer. I know there are a number of kids taking advantage of it, and I'm just delighted about that, so thank you for mentioning it. It's great so that the board knows that their work is paying off right in the schools.
Thank you, Patty. You know, again, I always say this, but part of my favorite time of going is to enjoy what the students bring to us. So
I
think
know it
it's-
doesn't need square dancing.
No, but I could handle this. I could handle this a whole lot better than the square dancing, so that was great. And again, Team Wolfeboro, thank you for being here. I appreciate your efforts, and hopefully we can work together to get things done. Sam, great job again, as always, and thank you for the thoroughness of your report. And on that note, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A, semicolon 3, paragraph 2, for legal personnel and student
So
matters.
moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Bridget?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Stacy? Jim?
Yes.
Julianne? Tim?
Yes.
All right. Chair's in. Thank you.